So, welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live people popping in and out. I'm doing some colour mixing today, or probably I found quite a few in of these Artisan water mixable paints. So they act just like an oil colour, but you can use a thinner and a drop of water, and they don't smell. So if you've got asthma or if you've got small children, you can use them in the same room. But having said that, put these away in a safe place. These will be poisonous. It doesn't say they are, but they will be. So don't leave them in a room with children, for goodness sake. But you can use them in the same room. And this is because I wanted to sit in the lounge with everybody when my children were little. And of course, you've got to keep an eye on them. And you can't have that with the smell of terps, otherwise you'd have little high monsters running around. Thank you, Marie. Thank you. So this is a live stream recorded for Ustream.tv and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm going to do some mixing, and I'm using my acrylic Stay Wet pencil palette, and it does have although it's not sealed, it does have quite a good seal on it. So with some wet kitchen paper and some baking grease, we used to call it greaseproof paper, but baking parchment. It's a little bit damp here. See, it's crinkled a little bit, but it's not wet. But that allows your acrylics not to dry out as much. And here we have the wet palette, but I won't be using that because I don't need to use it. I'm using water-based oils, and I'm piling things up until there's going to be an earthquake. So I have got quite a few colours there, but because I've got them, I'm going to use them. I'm not going to mix. So I've got an orange, I've got a rose, permanent rose, I've got four reds, 4 yellows, 4 blues, 5 yellows, and then I've got 2 blacks, Payne's grey because it's here, but I'll do a demonstration of how nice homemade Payne's grey is. There's lamp black and ivory black, and I've forgotten the difference, but you need them when you're doing professional oil colours. Titanium white is for white only. Zinc white, which is a bit cheaper normally, is for mixing. And that's because some of the pigments you don't want to mix. In proper oils, I think you probably get away with it here, but in oils, you don't want to do that. And then we've got a water mix oil medium, so that makes the things flow that little bit easier, because these come out like oil paints. It's a blob of paint that you can then make creamier or oilier depending on what you add. There's a fast drying medium if you want to work really fast, and that is fab stuff. There's a mixable stand oil and linseed, like professional oils. I've got 2 stand oils, so they're a bit squidgy. And then this is the thinner. So instead of using terps or water, it's best to use the mixable thinner. And it's a bit expensive, but it lasts a long time. And it means you can work very, very thin for lovely glazes. I put about 50 glazes on my final piece for my degree, and they were just glazes from darks to lights and lights to darks, and it makes things really, really stand out. So as many mixes as you want. So the only thing to do now is to put the colours in here. I'm not sure if I want to put the colours in here. I may put the colours in here because I'm a bit of a mixy girl. Now this is a huge mixing palette, and I'll measure it for you. The actual thing is 18 inches by just short of 11. Well, 11 if you take the lip into account. But the mixing space is 15. But there's this little bit here, so I'm actually going to put some paints in here. So if I push this forward, because I have got a lot of colours there, but as I say, you get them in the set, most of them, so I'm going to use them. I'm going to push this back very, very slightly, so you can see what I'm doing. And I just move the camera just a smidge in that way, so we should be about right. So this is quite damp, so I'll put in extra here because I do have a couple of palette knives as well. I mean, if you haven't got kitchen roll, use toilet roll, it doesn't matter. We just want a wet kind of section, that's all we want. It's a bit fiddly, but once you get your water into there. But the one thing you do want is you want a flat surface if you can, because that flat surface is what's going to keep. And then I'm just going to pour water on it. And I do want this quite wet because I want these oils to last me a week or so, I think. And I'm just going to, because it's kitchen paper, it behaves itself quite well. It says she. It should behave itself quite well, in which case you can get a really nice, and that's quite wet. I'm just going to wet that a little bit more. You don't really want it too wet, but it doesn't matter because I've got a lot of lights going on, and if you're in a humid climate. But you can do that on a white plate. You don't need to buy this, which are expensive, but I say it was half price. And I paid £11. I think they're about £20 odd these. Does the water need to dry faster than regular? No, it's about the same. It's about the same because the only difference is there's a pigment, there is a mixing solution in here that allows you to mix. So it's basically an oil paint. But if you go on the Windsor & Newton website, there's lots of videos about how to use them. But how I understand it is it's basically a black oil paint, but there's a binder to make it an oil paint, and in that binder it's been given something that will allow it to be mixed with oil, with water instead of not, because if you just mix water into an oil paint, it will not mix. So somewhere in that binder is a chemical that allows it to be water mixed. But if you do it too much, you will separate the binders, so the oil will separate and you'll just have a mess on your canvas. So you use the thinner, and even a tight Yorkshire lass, you really need the thinner. But it's basically an oil paint, and I could not get through to the people at college. It's an oil paint. So what I need on here now is a piece of this. And you only want a single sheet because you want the water to be through. Sorry about the tearing. And if you just kind of push that in the corners, you get a natural crease. So you can just very roughly. But as I say, have a look at the website because they have a lot of videos and demonstrators of how to use them. But it was definitely frowned upon at uni. But I have asthma, and so I couldn't use the oils, and so I used all my own equipment, and I still got charged for theirs. So. And some people didn't pay for theirs, so I paid for other people's. £80 a term, and I never used anything, so that was a bit. Well, I tell a lie. I used the printer, so never mind. There we go. That's my rant for that's my rant for the day. So Carol says, does the water mixable oils dry faster than regular oils? What is the cure time before sealing? I would think it's the same. It's the same. It's months, 6 months, isn't it? I think it's 6 months to a year. It depends. I mean, I put thin coats on mine, and they're probably just dry now after 4 years. If you make it with this thick impasto, and if you mix, a thick daubing, then it can take years. But a thin one is the same. So 6 months to a year, I think, is a normal one. When I say normal, I mean thinner. Now, I haven't used these, so they're probably going to be a little bit thick. But so I'm going to put the titanium white over here. So is all that in focus? Oh, do you want me to zoom in a bit? So as I do it, I'm going to put them away. So I've got titanium white. I don't normally use black, but we're just gonna go with what we've got. I'm just thinking if I put Payne's grey there, it'll remind me. I don't think I've used Payne's grey really. So it might tell you on the back. I can't remember. See, somebody looks at lamp black and ivory black. There's a difference. I think lamp black is blacker than ivory black, but I'm only guessing. And I'm not actually going to take any notice. I will take notice of it when I'm mixing it. And I'm not... This is why I probably don't do these anymore, because I can't get the tops off. We may not be using ivory black. I use my teeth, but don't tell. This is why I don't do this anymore. But I can show you the difference. In fact, ivory black looks blacker than... I think lamp black is for mixing, but I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to put the zinc white next to the lamp black. I'm going to put a lot of that out because we're going to be mixing up quite a bit. Well, it depends. It depends how thin you do it. I mean, I was still working on mine the day I put mine up. It depends. It's like oil paints. It depends how thin you work. But of course, having said that, you've got this fast dry mixing. So I could start at one side of my painting, and by the time I got to the other, I could start again. Other girls couldn't touch the painting for 4 days, or a day at least, even though they'd used the proper oil painting. You can get oil painting fast drying medium, but hers didn't dry as fast as mine. So again, it depends on. The only thing is, if I do this, I should have got my daughter to do this before she went to college. If I do this, I won't be able to do any drawing. All I can say is it's the same, but it's how you use it. Not a good idea. So I'm trying to keep them in the brown. So I've got raw umber and raw sienna. Don't tell my dentist. Don't tell the dentist. Doesn't taste very nice. So Marie says 6 months to a year. Yeah, it's the thing is, they say to you, you can't varnish an oil painting for at least 6 months to a year. And as I say, these are oil paints. These are proper oil paints. The only difference is there's an additive to the binder that allows you to mix it with water. That's the only difference. And on the website, the guy squidges them out like this, and you can see. as I say, the only difference is, I'm going to put that with the reds, so I'm going to go to yellow ochre. And I probably shouldn't put these on here, but I'm just having a play. I'm going to take a bit onto here and then mix. I won't be using the impasto. So we've got cad yellow next. And I will be taking these up with a palette knife because obviously they are so close together. I won't be able to so that's a cadmium yellow hue. So this is a warmer yellow. So we may as well put them out. I've got them. Anything that saves me mixing is good. I think the set, if you look at the set of these, there's a set, and it's a good set because it's got the 2 blues, the 2 reds and the 2 yellows. I think it's got a couple of browns in it. It's got black and white, and it's got phthalo green. So that's orange. So I'm going to go work myself back round to here. And this is the cad red. And if you wanted to space them out, you could write LB for lamp black, Z for mixing. You could do that with it if you wanted to. So I've got an Indian rose, which I have never used. Oops, I haven't used. So of course, this is oil coming out here. Because I've never used this. This is oil, so I've had them a while. I've probably bought this one. I don't think, I think because I was doing professional, I bought these two because watercolour professionals love Naples yellow and red Indian and yellow ochre. But yellow ochre will be in your set. It's just I like those colours. I'll put those down there. I didn't want to put them too far away in case I ran out of a certain colour. So I've got quite a few to get onto here now. So I'm going to put them fairly close because I'm not going to touch this. I used to drive home from Hull with, I have a huge pallet this big, and I used to put it on the dashboard and drive home with it because I'd put oil paints on it. I didn't want to leave them. So, gee whiz, these are a bit stuck up. I don't think I really wanted the green, but I suppose it's here. I'm not going to use the green because I won't use this phthalo green. I don't like phthalo green, so I won't be using it. Oh, having said that, I've got 4 colours to get out. I will put it out. I'm going to put it in the corner, out of the way. It's not my fave green, so Cerulean blue. And as I say, these have been in here for quite a while. So. Has anybody got any questions? And then we've got phthalo blue just because it happens to be here. Again, I don't think I've used that. My fave is French ultramarine. So there is quite a few colours there. So there's not going to be a lot of mixing going on, which is quite nice. And then I have my little pots. which I won't be able to find. No, I put some black ink. I put Indian ink in these, so that was a little bit silly. I do have some pots. Now they could do to be clean pots. Let's just have a look. I've got some of these pots. These should be fine. Oopsie. These should be fine. In fact, I could use that. Got my. Just keep these clean a bit because they're not very clean. I've used these pots actually. So I'm going to put. I'm not going to play with the oils. I'm going to use the thinner. And I'm going to use the quick dry medium. And if I can put my hand on it. Because we don't want the oils, that's for a canvas. And bear in mind we're doing paper. So I'm going to use the thinner. Just put those out of the way. And this is the fast dry medium. So I'm actually going to just use 2 pots. I think this one's cleaner. Yeah, I think that one's cleaner. So just clean the pots. So if anybody's got any questions, put them in caps. I don't really want this to have any colour in it. I think I used these for, again, these would be ideal, these little jam pots. But I'm not sure I'm going to get it clean enough, really. See if you have a baby wipe. Don't want any colour at all in there because whatever you've got will be transferred. Having said that, oil paints are pretty robust. They are pretty good. So I don't need that. Make sure I get everything off my hands. I bought this one. This is another set. Duo Aqua Oil. Holborn water soluble oils. That's a set you get in America, I think. And they're supposed to be pretty good. But as I say, I'm a bit biased and I do like my Windsor & Newton. So because I don't have much left, I'm going to put all that in there. So this is instead of linseed oil, and this is the fast drying medium. Oh, I hate children's locks on things. I hate children's locks on things. Again, it could be here all day. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't do children's locks. Oh, you little sausage. No, it's not going to come off. You little sausage. So we're going to have to use a new one, which will break my heart. Yes, you little rat bag. It's a good job I can't find the scalpel because I'd be trying to stab it and then that wouldn't do, would it? I really don't want to open a new one. Oh, golly gumdrops. Have I not got a fast drying one on there? Nope. Oh, this is a new one. Yeah. Oops, no. Yes. Right, so we've got, and if I find the lids for these would be perfect. Sorry about that. What a faff. Right, this is, and what this does, it, again, this one does actually mess up your, I'm going to put all these out of the way. I haven't been in that box, I'll say, for a while. My daughter was the last one to use them when she did her colouring. Right, we don't need those. Need a palette knife, which has got glue on it, which is not good, is it? Haven't sorted any brushes out, but I'm rather naughty. I use the same brushes for water as I do oil, because I'm not working on a big canvas. I'm working on oops, wrong side, sorry about that. Right, so we can get rid of this. As I say, some artists spend 7 years doing a colour, so this hasn't got anything on it. So I'm going to put this, I don't need the water pot, so I shall move the water pot out of the way. And I don't need these brushes because I didn't use them. Put that where I know where it is. May use that bigger brush in a minute. Get rid of all that rubbish. That little pot now is obsolete. Have a bit of a clean. So I'll put that there. I'm always conscious of the fact I'm crossing in front. Actually, that's probably slightly better, isn't it? That? I think that's probably slightly better. If I put that there. So this brush is a little bit ugh. So we'll see if we can clean it. As I've had this for years. Again, it was in that lovely pot that I got from a gentleman. I think it was a gentleman years ago. Brush cleaner. And I've never used it, so how amazing is that? That's just brought that up lovely and soft again. That's nice. So I've got some cheapy brushes here. Let's have a look. That's a cheapy one. That's a cheapy one. And then I've got these that I bought. They're acrylics, but they'll do oils. These are quite nice. I bought these. A bit expensive for me, but hey ho. As again, I do like these. Oh, that's a cotton one, but I could use it. But some nice soft ones, because I work quite thin. That's a Pro Art acrylic one. Oops, didn't mean to push it into there. I thought that was water. I should always damp your brush first. I think I've got enough to keep going. And that is a rigger. But I don't need a rigger for what we're doing today. So I've got an array of brushes. I've got a real chunky one. Again, that's a bit of a chunky one. I'm not using the sable ones. That's what I'm trying to do, is not use sable, but use anything else. So they'll do. That's enough to give me a bit of a mix. These will be okay. These are normally a couple of pounds. But that should keep me going. So if I slide that to there, you can see a little bit of mixing. I'm going to put these to one side, but I'll tell you what I'm dunking into. So this page here is torn out. So this one has no gesso. And did I know the minute I put my pencil away, I would use it. So and plain paper. So just need the granny blanket. Just trying to think if that's probably the best way. It's not. If I leave it like that, will that drive everybody crackers if I'm going to be painting it sideways? Being left-handed, you see, I have to cross the light every time. So I didn't know if that's going to get anybody's names. So I'll just have a quick slurp. As Keith Floyd used to say. So this has got nothing on it. So we could start. Normally you give things a wash. And I always start with raw umber. And I'm pretty sure that's raw umber. That's burnt umber. So a raw umber, or what do you call this? Yellow ochre. I think I prefer raw. But I'll mix both together. So I'm going to mix them both together. And there's a lot of oil in there because one of them was quite oily. And again, a tight Yorkshire lass. So I'm going to dip into the thinner first. And I've got quite a nice creamy consistency, but I want it a bit looser than this because I work very, very wet. And I think this is why it's going to work. You couldn't work with a huge impasto daub. Well, you could, I suppose, daubing on your paper. Your paper would probably disintegrate, so you'd have to. So that's actually quite a nice consistency. That's single cream. That's how I normally work. But if we take a little bit of this, you don't want much. Probably got a bit too much there. It's gone a bit thicker, and it's not really going to do a wash, isn't that? I'll just get a bigger brush. I'll take this over here. So that's got the thinner in it, and you can see it's splitting a bit because it's too thin. So if you can see that, that's because it's split. That's what happens if you dilute it too much. And that's what you get on your page. Because it's diluted too much. And it's really disintegrating. There's little tiny bits there. And that's because there's too much thinner. You can see it more there. I could feel it in the brush. And that's what happens if you put too much. So this bit here is fine. It's single cream. So that means that I won't be doing a wash. The beauty of it is you can wash your brushes out in water and they come out perfectly clean. Well, they do normally. Did I use the right linseed? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I used the right one. That's very strange. This is acting like oil. Just bear with me, let me just find that. Nope, that is definitely. They're all Artisan. Yep. Just let me clean the brush. So I don't know what's happening there. Oh, hi Dorothy, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm having a bit of a play with my oils, but I'm having a spot of bother. my water mixable oils. Because they've split. Now, it might be because they're old. I don't know how old they've got to be. It's not like oil paints, so it's come off. But that's split, and you don't want that. So that tells me I'm not going to work like that. I'm going to work like I work with watercolours, because that's what I was going to do in the first place. So we'll go back to our practice page. So this is the really thick one. This is the double amount of, and it's got a few bits on it, but it is quite smooth. And the paper's got a bit of guts now. This is a little bit thinner, but still lovely and smooth. And this is gorgeous and smooth, but this is just, I think this is my homemade glue. So this is a little bit of a tooth to it, but still fairly smooth. It's not rough, and it's definitely not for pastels. You need a really rough gesso for that. This is thin. This is homemade, fine, and it's for fine brushes. I want to be able to stroke a dog hair and it to go straight. I don't want it to have to go like this because it's hitting lots of bubbles. So this is just an experiment before we go to the real thing. So I'm just going to put these into here. So that was a bit of a disaster, that. This is what I like. It's like a creamy consistency. So I dunk the page into there, and then I know it's the wrong colour, but are we going for a... Yeah, there's something wrong with this. There's something definitely wrong with that mix. Maybe because it's too old. So I'm going to take a bit of this over here, and I'm just going to use it. They look like they're split. It's probably because they're old. That's probably what's happened. So just let me take a bit of fast dry medium and no thinner. It's behaving itself a little bit better. Just maybe just a touch of thinner. As I say, it might be because they've been opened and they're quite old. That's behaving itself a little bit better. But when it's dried, what it'll allow me to do is to build up some nice glazes. I'm taking it, this is a piebald. And you can see the brush strokes. You can see the brush strokes in the first one. You just got to remember to clean your brushes. So I'm going to leave the top off this. So what you normally would do is do a wash on all these. So as I say, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm just playing with oil paints. No, I don't like that mix at all. I think it's probably because they're old. I say I haven't used them for a few years. So, let's take a little bit of that, a little bit of this. So I'm not going to use any thinner. I didn't use any thinner before when I used to. Oops. So let's just have a look and see. They don't seem to be mixing very well. I think it's probably because they're old. I just don't like the consistency. And I don't think it's anything to do with being on paper. they can, it's about sticking, and they can stick. They can stick. So I'll just keep going. And we can see what happens. So this is a thin layer. So that's the first one. We should put them in order here. And it's not behaving itself very well. So let's just have a look at this one. And so we could do, again, I don't really like this brush. And these brushes are only a few pounds, so I'm not really wasting a brush. Drop it in the thinner first, and then kind of giving it. They're coming out a little bit too oily, but maybe that's just because it's the first kind of the first tooth. And it's an experiment. This is on paper. It's an experiment. So I'm going to put a layer of this first. I should have probably done the sky, but hey ho. And put a layer of this on first. And the beauty of it is you can actually go over, because you can correct it later. It's not behaving very well, isn't this paint? I have to say, it's not behaving. And that's slightly better. There's no smell of oils. There's a slight smell of something, but it's definitely not terps. And so again, you know, I would be coughing if that was terps now with my asthma. I would not like it at all. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a coat and see what it dries like. I probably think this one's going to behave itself the best. But that's not bad for paper and water-based oils. So we'll go to this one. I'll just put that on there because it probably will dry a bit better if I leave it up there. And again, but I've never used a wedge brush for a while, so again, but I want this, a little bit of this fast drying medium, because obviously it does what it says on the tin. So we start at this side, and that's behaving itself a little bit better. Sorry, somebody's dreaming. I see that the beauty is you can, I wanted a round brush really. I can't work with wedges. It's not my thing. It's not my forte. So I'm going to clean that into here, that I don't forget, because I know I will do. So I'm going to damp the brush with that, and then I'm going to damp it into the mixable. This is the thinner, but they're not behaving themselves with the thinner, so I wonder if the thinner's off, because it's just completely wrecked that. Yeah, it's the thinner that's off. So at least I found out it's not the paints. So that's good news. So it's the thinner that's not happy. So because I'm not using a lot of water, I might just use a drop of water. There's a little pot. going to use that just to dampen the brush. So I can't touch this because this has got the and that's not behaving itself either, the fast dry medium, but I've just opened that one. Yeah, it's gone bitty. It doesn't like the fast dry medium either. But if I can't use the fast dry medium, oh, I had to keep away from that, didn't I? Yeah, it's gone bitty. I think it's gone bitty. Yep. So I'll try something else. It might be the paints have gone off. I say they are quite old, these. My eldest is 25, so some ordinary water, but dry. And that seems to be perfectly all right. That's perfectly all right, is that? And it's the consistency of double cream, is that, I would say? Maybe double cream. Now, I used to use water, but if you use too much, it will split like this. So I presume it's gone off. So that's a shame, but never mind. At least the paints are all right. And so this is going on really nicely, smoothly. And it's oil paint. But because I can't get any fast drying in it, that's not going to dry for a couple of days now. I'm just going to try, and that was a new one I'd opened as well. That's a bit distressing. There's a tight Yorkshire lass. I've just wasted a £5. That's not good. But does it have a date on it? Smooth brushworks and increasing its transparency. So you use it for excellent for glazing and producing fine detailed work and cleaned oils. I'm not happy with that because that's a new one. But if I don't get a tidge in it, I'll try it with a tidge. It's just a smidgen. If I don't get a small amount in it, we'll be here till Christmas. Yeah, it split it straight away. It split the difference with the oils. It's definitely split it. And I don't know why. We'll just have to see what happens. So I like the thickest page then. I like the thickest one. But if you see the bits on it, that's because the paint's cracked. And that normally happens if you mix too much. If you mix too much water with it, that's what normally happens. But I didn't. I mixed the fast drying medium, which is a bit of a shame. But we'll carry on. Like the texture, and we'll just turn the page over in a second. So it's holding up quite well to oil paint. And this one's held up quite well. And that's got the mixable dryer in it, but it's a bit oily as that one. So just painted onto there. And this one, it's held up quite well, but it's just flimsy. But if I just do this, you can see it's splitting. There's bits in it. there's bits in it, and we don't want bits in it. So that's because normally you add too much water. So the binder in the water-based binder in the paints does not like this. I don't know why. But we'll see how that is for drying. So we could go to a bit bigger brush and have a bit of a wipe. And remember, these are oil paints. I'm not going to bother with the paper one because we know now. And I'm probably not going to bother with this one either, because it was the thin gesso and I put extra talcum powder in it and got this. So this is where we're at. So as I said, I don't really like that green, so I'm going to take, oops, and oopsie, I've moved that out now. I think it's the paints that are kind of old. Because that should mix in there quite nicely, and instantly split it again. Look. So I don't know why I did that, because I knew that's what would happen. Oops, I'm having a bit of a moan, sorry about that. And this paper palette that we've made here with it'll stand up to quite a lot. So again, I've got a little bit of that and a drop of water, and again that's split. That's split this time, so we want rid of that. It must be the paints. It must be the binder in the paints that's not happy. And again, that's split. So put that there. And got to remember to clean your brush. Now that's quite a nice consistency. It's just a little bit thick for pages. So again, let's just practice this. That hasn't split. Again, so I don't know why, because that page has not split. Sorry, postman, but little puppy's asleep. He's not noticed. That's good. I'll just turn these round and have a bit of a look at them. I would have liked a bit of a thinner one, but hey ho. So I'm just going to have just the water, just enough to keep the brush damp, and then go in that green, just to see if I can keep it. And that's worked quite well. I can't do a wash really with it because it doesn't want to, but it's definitely not split, so I'm not quite sure. It's obviously something to do with the binder in the paints, I think. But I can live with that. That's the consistency of double cream. It's not as easy to work with, but it's fine. So we'll just give that a bit of a... And I do have some bits on it. They're not from here. So again, you know, for paper, it's not bad. again, just a touch of water to get it to... Single cream's the best if you can get it to single cream, because it moves across your page that bit better. So that's allowing me to just give a little bit of a wash onto there. So this is what I hope to do to the Harry Potter ones. But again, I don't normally work this big, but they're a lot smaller, so they're more detailed. So I won't be doing this like this, really. I'll be working quite thin. And that's the same one as that one. If you can try and keep the point, it's quite a good idea. But this is an experiment. This is just to practice getting back into painting with oils and acrylics. But once we've got a nice tooth on there, I'm sure once you get your first layer down, the other layers behave themselves. Sometimes you do a layer, when I do it on a canvas, you'll be doing a wash of, I'm going to put all these in here as well. You do a wash of raw sienna over the whole page, and that's giving you a bit of a key, but because this is paper, I'm not doing that. I'm giving each one its own key, really. But I love the fact there's no smell. And you can get some textured strokes on there if you want to. You can work as thick as you want, you know, it's your colour book. But I just wanted to, and because they're in the background, I'm going to add a touch of red. I didn't really want that much, but I'm going to add a touch of red in there. And a touch of water. And if I go up here, if you can see that, that's given me a darker red. Sorry, a darker green. And all I've done is added a touch of... Now this has gone back to double cream again, and I don't really like that. I like things to be a lot smoother, but this is a practice. So I'm going to put a touch more water into here and bring that over here. Now it behaves itself with water, which it shouldn't do. If I add a lot of water to it, it should crack like it did there, or separate. So it doesn't like the binder, but I suspect it's the paints, because that is a new binder that I've just opened. But the fast drying medium will allow it to dry faster. But actually that's not done so bad for oil paint. It's dried on there, so maybe it did get a little bit of this fast dry medium, but these paints, they're still tacky. But it's oil paint. The only difference is it has a binder in it that allows you to mix it and clean your brushes with water instead of having terps. And so that's the only difference. So again, I can go back into this with a drop of water. And get an even deeper shade in there. Should be using a finer brush, really. And that's just allowed me to just give a bit of a semblance of order of where I'm going with it. Because remember, I haven't got anything to, this is made up, which is always not easy. But those trees are kind of a little bit in the background now. And we can continue with the reddy brown for this background here. Now I will have a little bit, well, I'll have a photograph to work from, so I can get the colours perfect, so that's better. This is just messing about. But by adding red, I've almost got a brown. I've got a reddy, I've got a greeny brown fawn colour. So for oil paints, it's not bad. Oh, hi Suzanne, welcome to Bunny's Designs. There is a little bit of smell of oil paint, but there's no terps. And a bit of a failure with the Artisan stuff. But it quite likes water, and normally that happens with water. Oops, I've just put my thumb on it. And again, I've just put my thumb on it, and it is. It is. So maybe that would have been a darker. Dark. I think this must be a river here. So we could put this foliage in and use this green if we wanted to. As I say, I didn't really want to get bogged down with doing this because it's a practice, but if we fill all the green bits in, because we've got the green there. And then of course we need the paler green, and this is the green that I've made, so I'm not going to be able to make it again, so I need to get the best of it. So I think they'll be a bit paler here. So you can put water-based oils if you gesso your page first. So you can use oils in your colour page if you want to get a lovely oil-based kind of effect. Now, as I say, this is extremely rough. I'm just kind of filling in. But this is nice and creamy, proper oil paint. How I usually work with glazes. This is quite thin.